We've actually seen lots of different kind of trends in that. Depending on what we release or what types of things come out, it really changes the trend. I mean, the biggest thing is when you first release a game, everybody is playing right in the beginning, and it's actually a lot higher concurrency than will ever happen. You get a lot more people playing because it's very new. Everyone's in their own things, and then once that settles down to kind of the normal level of concurrency, that's kind of what you see. So there's always going to be this different kind of things right when a game comes out, and games deal with that in different ways. But we've seen a lot of the things that we've done in World v. World just constantly increasing its population, and there's always lots of different things that goes on there. And so I think we're like the progression system that we added helped a lot, different types of achievements, but we're always kind of trying to brainstorm ways that we can make the game type more exciting. What can we add to it? And so that's kind of the whole new team's job, and they're always trying to put out like new skills for World v. World and things like that. They're always kind of trying to come up with new ideas and new ways that they can bring more enthusiasm to that game type.
Okay. Questions to...
Yeah, you want to pass back and forth?
Questions, so we can go...
Yep, sure.
Yeah, I would like to know what you have planned with the PvP.
I think for PvP, the biggest thing that we're focusing on is really trying to get the base core pieces that we need for the esports to really thrive. We got our first kind of big tournament that we're running here at PAX, and we really got the custom arenas in and the spectator mode, and really continuing to try to support that. Really work with the different people streaming the game, see what they're looking for to help stream better. Talking with like MLG and ESL and seeing what they need to run more tournaments and that kind of stuff. And so really kind of starting the momentum to building up a more esports environment for PvP, and always kind of looking at the base things that are there and going, well, what are the pieces that we can do to improve, and try to get the esports movement moving stronger and faster.
It's a bit late. Should be at release, the spectator mode.
Yeah, I mean, I think as it always comes with base features and things like that, they're stronger when they're there from the beginning, but a lot of PvP games start off small and kind of build their momentum in their community. And Guild Wars 2 is always a very multi game type of thing, so different areas get focused on in different ways. But we have a very strong PvP team. That's all they're looking at. They're always trying to improve what's there, find more base functionality, and just continue to evolve it and build it over time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not such. There's not so much meaning in winning in World vs. World.
Yeah.
But, we are playing on the first French server in Europe, and we actually won for months now.
Yeah.
And now it kind of gets boring, and we don't really see.
Yeah.
It's
the best. We don't have any real position.
Yeah, it's actually a big thing that the World v. World team's working on, is bringing more meaning to the victories in World v. World, and trying to tie more consequence and things like that. And so you'll probably see rolling out here some new initiatives to try to drive towards that, because we recognize that's something that people want to care about, is meaning to the weekly fights. So
would it be possible to just put an achievement like winner of World vs. World week?
Yeah, we definitely have some ideas on how we can add some more achievements and things, and you'll definitely start seeing some of that very soon. Some different types of things that we're trying to do to kind of promote more, caring about the status of your World v. World area. So it's definitely a big focus point.
Do you have anything you want to change about the way the rotation works in World vs. World? Because our server. I'm on the loner, and it's very different from every week which kind of servers we're against. Sometimes it's really hard when we're fighting against you, for example, but then we have some groups where we just don't need to be there at all because we just win, and it's very difficult for the community because they are changing a lot on how they see this.
As you can see, we've already made some tweaks as it's gone live, trying to kind of update the way it functions. And we're always looking at that, kind of looking at the math, looking at the algorithms for matchmaking and stuff like that. Always trying to improve how that functions. There's kind of two tensions there. There's like always having the best game because it's the hardest people matching up, and kind of having different opponents that cycle in and out. And those two spectrums kind of pull from back and forth between each other. We're trying to find the right balance in there where it's like you're fighting the best opponents, but it's not always the same opponents. And kind of we're definitely looking at some different ways, different approaches to how to apply that. But we kind of iterate on those algorithms and systems as much as we can in different ways. And so we've already done it a couple times, tweaked some variables, changed up the formula, and we'll continue to do that until we're satisfied that everyone's getting all the different things that they need. But it's definitely not something we're like, oh, it's done, we're good with that. We're always kind of tweaking the variables, really looking at it, all the statistics, seeing how things are going together, and that kind of is a very big approach for us trying to solve that problem.
I personally miss a kind of escape button in the hot seat PvP. Mm-hmm. You were thrown from match to match, and if you want to leave, you've got to go to the fog of war, and it's a bit difficult to exit this. Why? There's no exit button, or I will do it again.
Yeah, I think we just added one just recently. The team's always kind of looking at different things, whether it's a bigger project or smaller projects, and sometimes they'll be working on really long-term projects that's lots of different months to accomplish, and then sometimes they'll get a break from that and be able to go do a bunch of quality of life fixes like adding a button. I do believe it's now very easy. You can just push a button and leave at any time, but it's just always one of those things, depending on what the team's working on, where they're going to get small increases in updates.
It seems kind of strange, so this endless mode of fighting against.
One of the kind of interesting aspects of kind of a 2-week cadence is really how to work out how all the different teams kind of fall into that. Some of the strongest things we do is we have 4 teams that kind of leapfrog each other in releasing, and then the other teams, when they have stuff ready, kind of drop in at different moments. And so it really kind of depends on how the team's structured and what they're going to do. And I think PvP's been doing a lot of kind of smaller things lately, just trying to fix some of those little bits that they've set aside as they've been working on, custom arenas and spectator mode and things like that. And so they've kind of been going back and putting some smaller pieces in to help some of those small quality of life things where it's like, oh, this small little thing would really make things easier for people.
I always play this hot seat modus, and it's a bit weird. How are the teams mixed? Sometimes I've got the impression it's always the same players I play with or against, and it gets less and less until the teams are too small, and then go back to the fog. And
yeah, it kind of all depends on the time zone and who's there at the thing. If there's a small number of people on at the time, then you will get a little bit more rotation on it. Also, there's kind of a thing where a bunch of people are queued, they play their game, and then they get out, and these guys are in a game, and so sometimes things can get a little bit more like that. So they're kind of always looking at that algorithm as well and saying, can we make it? Do we need to delay the time so that there's a bigger pool, so that there's more mixing up between those? And that's something that we're always looking into, trying to say, okay, how do we improve that and get more players in and do different things? We have a big free trial going that we're pushing and trying to, now that get more people involved, and it's a really good time. Like we're seeing just lots of players coming into the game and playing constantly, and we're just getting more and more people coming and playing the game. So we're just trying to encourage that and help that out and get more people playing and getting all those pieces and tweaking algorithms in different ways too. So.
I can remember times there were people who went to duel each other, and I was in the game too, and what to do? Well, don't disturb them by dueling, and
that's some reason why
it's kind of strange, especially at night.
Yeah, it's something we built custom arenas for that purpose, so that players can play the game types in different ways, how they want to play it. And that really allows them, the people that want to kind of do a little one-on-one fighting or something, has a home or a place in order to accomplish that.
But the teams aren't mixed from game to game or from match to match.
It depends on what game type or algorithm you're looking at. It is set up that it's all the European servers are mixed together, and then all the North American are mixed together, and that's kind of the way that's set up. So.
Back to WordPress as well.
All right.
Devon Carter has spoken on the official forums, and he talked about new improvements such as map changes and so on. About the map changes, when can we expect to see them? We are so impatient. We want to play them.
I mean, when it comes to World v. World, there's a lot of extra testing that we need to do. There's when you get that many players all at once playing, there's more performance things that we got to look at, and so anything that we do there, we try to spend a little bit more time making sure that all the changes are right and test it. But and so, whenever that team gets all their things ready to go and release it, we usually don't talk about things unless we're getting farther along. So the fact that we're talking about them existing is usually a pretty good sign that some stuff is coming down the pipes.
Before the end of the year.
Yeah, we never really try to shoot at dates. We're always when it's ready. That's sort of one of the nice things about 2-week cadence is there's another one in 2 weeks if they need to keep going down the line. So I don't actually know exactly when that plan on coming out ready to go, but they're definitely working on it hard and trying to just make sure it's the best that they can deliver.
It is for sure before the end of the world.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And Devin is also on top of, as soon as we're able to message things, he's very much involved in trying to get that information out as soon as possible. So
we definitely know that the World v. World community is very, very passionate and always really wanting to know what's coming and doing those things.
Okay. Then about guilds in Waters as well. For now, you can add, your banner on keeps and so on. Do you plan to do to add more stuff to do for guilds, like missions? Who keeps go take that keep?
It's definitely been some conversations. We really want to expand some of those systems. I think we've been focusing on different areas right now, and so it's not the top of the to-do list for World v. World. But it's definitely something I foresee us in the future expanding and working on. But it's not the thing we're working on right this second.
Like a new kind of guild mission type. We have the puzzle champs and so on.
Yeah.
You just add World versus World and
it's
kill 1,000 people.
Yeah,
we can do it.
It's definitely something different things we've talked about, but we don't want to take the focus around the other initiatives that we're working on, and like the different maps and things like that. And so that's kind of where our focus is, trying to make there more meaning to the victories in World v. World, and a little bit more variance in the things that people do. So.
Okay. Next question is about World versus World. Now is balancing. So you must certainly know right now it's pretty difficult for medium groups like 20 people to actually face a big army of 50 to 100 people.
Yeah.
And some of these problems are caused by balancing problems, like when you can raise up mates when you use the warriors banner, skills like that. So when you have a big group of fighters, warriors, they can actually put everyone back every 10 seconds. And it's really hard to actually face that.
Yeah, some of the thing that we found when working on that balance is if we can drive the motivations of players to split up more, that's going to do a lot better at that than it is. And so, we kind of think that's the approach to solving that. When you get to trying to get the balance to make it so a small group of people can beat a bigger group of people, it becomes really difficult, because if the bigger group of people is just as good, they're always going to win. There's more of them. And so, there's definitely some tweaks in there, like making AoEs hit more targets, or things that you can do, change that. But we really try to focus that on like the siege weapons, try to make the siege weapons help with that in those different areas. And as we do the updates to the skills, trying to say, okay, how can we make this work better for fighting that? But yeah, it's a pretty difficult problem that we're always trying to work on, in that balance of, how do you defeat the large groups of people, and kind of our methodology is split them up, make it there be more objectives that you have to care about at once, so that a large group is just at a natural disadvantage because they need to be in more places than they want, and then that becomes more interesting fights, and you get more movement and tactics and things like that. And so it's a very multi-threaded problem, though. I think we'll be trying to hit it from all angles as we've been working on it a lot, and I think we've made a few small steps towards that with different siege updates. But it's definitely not something we're done working on, and we definitely think we got to get a little bit more balance in there. So.
Okay, I'm done with the world. This is one.
We recently discussed the thing about group size. Is it fixed up for eternity? Or will there be any opportunity to make it scalable? So you could do a dungeon with 2 people or perhaps 5, 6?
When it comes to scalability, it always adds a lot more balance overhead. When you want to make it so that a game type can have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, that means every one of those iterations you have to spend balancing. And so, we do some scaling algorithms all throughout the game when those things work well, but we find those don't work super well for very difficult content. We usually try to have a fixed cap on a difficult content, like a dungeon or something. It's like, okay, 5 people can do this, because it's very difficult to make it difficult for all levels, and you'll get into a case where something is more difficult for 5 players than it is for 2 players, and that creates some really weird tensions, or vice versa. It's something really difficult for 2 players than 5 players, and so we find when it comes to making difficult things, we really want, this is what we're going to balance it around, this is the static kind of area to go. When it comes to things that are not difficult, where it's just kind of play experience, like a story instance or an open world event, we try to use a little bit more scaling algorithms, and we've been trying to improve the scaling algorithms, we've been doing a lot of stuff like champions appear and trying to make it more, things are more difficult and more fun the more people show up. But I think we probably won't try to make a large variance in that harder content, just because I think it results in less balanced content. So.
One thing to kind of elaborate on it, you need to understand that with this bi-weekly cadence, it puts a lot of pressure on the development team, and it also makes it a lot more critical for us to make sure that we invest our resources where we get the most results for the investment. So sometimes, with the same resources that it would take to balance, say, a group size for 2 or 3 or 4, maybe with the same amount of resource would allow us to develop a feature that is a lot more important or has a broader appeal to a wider audience. So we always need to consider, hey, where do we put our efforts so we get the most return for the investment?
So it's not all about damage and hit points from the monsters, so it's a bit more complicated to balance it.
It is extremely complicated. That's why it's difficult to make to address all these possible scenarios with equal thoroughness.
Okay, thanks.
Running out of time, I'm afraid, so maybe one last question, and then we'll have to break to the next one.
Living worlds. One question I had on the art in the newest updates. I didn't play it much yet, obviously. But the newest cutscene, it has a very different art style than the ones before. What's the reason for that?
Which one? Which one are you talking about?
The closing ceremony.
What?
The closing ceremony.
I guess.
Falls down there.
I guess it was. We're trying to make sure that every one of these releases has its own flavor and stands out and character, and the cinematic team decided to try something that's quite a departure from the previous one. So I already heard comments, people who loved it, people who thought it was a little over the top, cheesy or so, but it was just it was a deliberate decision with the intention to give them all their own individual character.
I have questions. Can I just put some more?
I think they will come drag us out
Okay.
in different times.
Still about balancing, about alteration damage. For right now, there's no stat that help us resist it. Do you plan to put some kind of resistance to alteration? Because right now, if you don't, well, there's no possibility to resist it. And in one versus one, it's really damaging.
Yeah, there's a lot of different, looking at those different things. We've talked about different stuff like that for condition damage and retaliation and different things like that. But it can be careful because you can easily overcomplicate the things, and so we might just need to make some more world related balance changes to it because it's not as broken or powerful or overpowered in different areas.
Splitting the skills between one versus one.
Yeah, there's been some debate. It's kind of always the how do we best approach that without overcomplicating things. So it's definitely a debate and something that comes up a lot in our balance talks and how we're going to approach kind of that. I don't think we'll go with the adding resistance to one specific boon type of approach, but we definitely will eventually do something to help address that in World v. World. I'm just not sure the balance direction. It's kind of still under debate right now. So.
It's done.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have a final picture?
Sure.
Jetzt winken, lachen, weinen.
Nein, jetzt bist du im Bild, jetzt geht's winken, lachen, weinen.
Also, sowas kann ich gut, ja. Rumalbern vor der Kamera.
Ja, nur, dass du keine mitnimmst. Schwerer Wähler.